Hello and welcome to what is the first ever episode in a brand new series that we've decided to call Wine and House Talk. My name's Andy Pater and I'll be hosting the show, and the premise is that we're going to discuss and explain topics such as stamp duty and negative gearing over a casual glass of wine with some of Australia's industry experts. Now the idea came about because I noticed that there's this expectation that purchasers need to understand topics like stamp duty and negative gearing that I just mentioned, but they might not necessarily actually understand that. And I think that's really important to be able to navigate the industry. You need to understand those concepts and rules. So what we're going to do is we're going to present them here for you so that when you go out and buy a home, you actually know what to look out for and you know what you're talking about. And it's going to hopefully prevent you from getting burned by anyone. I hope you enjoy the show. There's plenty of topics coming up over the next weeks and months, some of which haven't even been booked in yet. So if you are an industry expert, feel free to reach out to me and I would love to have you on the show. And it'll always be over a glass of wine, or in today's case, a glass of scotch. And that brings me on to today's guest, in fact. Now, I had the pleasure of catching up with Andrew Van De Beek in his kitchen at his family home in Langwarrin. He's a raving Scotch enthusiast. He has a fantastic cupboard of whiskies, and we got to enjoy a glass of his Talisker whiskey that he brought back home from his trip overseas, and we discussed negative gearing. Let's see what he had to say. So we're joined by Andrew Van De Beek. What's your role at Illuminate?
I think the official title is Founder and Head of Purpose.
Okay, I was going to go for Managing Director, but Founder and Head of Purpose. Check out Illuminate online. They do some pretty cool stuff. Why don't you take us through what Illuminate is,
sure.
The vision and mission?
So I guess we are a cloud accounting business that kind of approaches accounting and working with businesses in a modern environment. And we believe that businesses need to have purpose, and when they have purpose, they can go forward a lot more. So we spend a lot of our time consulting using technology and helping people to grow things that they're proud of so that they have more time for themselves to do the things they want to do outside of work as well.
Fantastic. Because it is Wine and House Talk, we're going to talk about some alcohol to start, of course. But we thought we'd make an exception today because Andrew is actually a bit of a whiskey enthusiast.
Yeah, I am a very big whiskey man. Very big whiskey man.
He's got the most insane cupboard of whiskies I've ever seen in my life. So I thought it's only appropriate that we talk about whiskey. What have we got today?
All right, so what we've got, this is actually a bottle. I was in Scotland last year with family for a few weeks, and we went to a distillery called Talisker. Now Talisker is it's on islands out there. It is absolutely beautiful. But this one's got a bit of peatiness. If you know peatiness, it means it's a bit smoky. It's not as kind of smooth as some other whiskies, but in my opinion, it's beautiful. And the Isle of Skye, where it's located, is just a magnificent place to visit. So. So we're going to do a bit of that. So I'll pour
Beautiful.
Some. How do you go with whiskey, mate? You're right?
I enjoy whiskey.
This is good.
I relish it.
Well, I'm glad that I get to share this one. You won't be able to find this one most places in Australia.
I don't know if you remember, but about 3 years ago we were both at an event and I was smelling whiskey and you told me I was doing it wrong. What's the appropriate way to smell whiskey?
Look, if you want to be a wanker when you're doing whiskey, you can kind of nose it, and you kind of want to have your mouth open whilst you're breathing in through the nose. And apparently that allows the flavour to go through a bit more. Okay. So instead of going, you've got to go...
That's how I've done it for the last 3 years, and every time I do it, I think of Andrew.
Oh, I'm glad that you think of me when you're smelling whiskey.
There you go, cheers.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Absolutely. And that is delicious.
Really good.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Indeed.
I've got a bottle of Lagavulin sitting at home. And
the
that's
16?
A bit, yeah.
Yeah.
The Ron Swanson special,
he loves that stuff.
Yeah. And that's a little bit more punchy. This is
it's got a little bit of that because the Lagavulin is an Isla whiskey, so it's from the Isle of Isla.
Yeah.
And very heavy peat, because on those islands there's nothing, so like they would dig peat out of the ground, it's like bog, and they would burn that for like fuel.
Okay.
And when they're making their whiskey, they decided to utilise that kind of boggy peatiness, and that's why they burn that, and it gives you the smoky flavour.
Yeah, right. Well, I think what we're going to do is dive into some questions now over the whiskey, and we're talking about negative gearing today. So what is negative gearing? You hear a lot of people talking about it on the news, and you read about it in newspapers, and I'm sure you've seen it in your Twitter feed. So I thought we'd discuss what it actually is, and I thought let's ask the man himself for a really good explanation of it. So why don't you take it away?
Yeah, sure. So look, what I'll try to do is I'll just keep it on layman's terms.
Beautiful.
Being an accountant, we can kind of run away with terms, and sometimes it becomes something that you don't understand. So negative gearing in the most basic form is when you have a property, and the income you receive from that property is less than the expenses that you pay out, plus the cost of the interest for your loan, plus any potential depreciation of the asset or the value of the house.
Yep.
So really, the expenses are less than the income, therefore you make a loss out of that investment.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. And how do you take advantage of negative gearing?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. So obviously, just to feel this, obviously, this is very general advice, nothing specific. If there's anything that you're looking for your personal circumstances, definitely recommend chatting to your accountant. If you don't have a good one, get in touch with us. Cheeky plug.
Link below.
Yeah, link below. Love it. So taking advantage of negative gearing, it's something that you look at because you're looking at an investment. And whilst I'm not licensed to give advice on what investments you should be purchasing, you might be looking at buying a house, and that house might be going up in value over a period of time. But to maintain that house, you might actually be incurring more expenses than the income you're receiving at that point in time.
Okay.
So you might be generating significantly high income. So maybe you're on a really good wage. Maybe you run a business and you receive a fair share of profits, and then you have this investment that's making a loss. So that loss will actually reduce your taxable income down, and as a result, you might end up finding yourself getting a refund if you're on salary and wages, or have a much lower tax that you have to pay at the end of the year, depending on your circumstances.
Okay.
And it's something strategically you might want to look at doing in terms of who should actually own that asset. You look at it from a risk perspective. You want to make sure that you're avoiding someone who's undertaking risky activities from owning an investment property.
Okay.
But however, that investment property might be really well aligned in terms of the high income earner versus the low income earner when you've got spousal partnerships involved as well.
Yeah, right. Okay, clever. Fantastic. And if I did want to take advantage of the negative gearing process, how would I start?
Well, it's relatively simple. I mean, you're looking for an investment property. You're going to go and choose that investment property. Now, you're probably going to take advice from real estate agents. You might look for financial advisors to help you to choose the right particular property. But if you're able to financially fund the loss that you're going to be receiving on that property, which might not be anywhere near in the extent of the actual outlay of cash, you want to identify, okay, cool, what is this property getting me and what are the costs?
Yep.
And some of those costs actually are depreciation or capital works. Now, what that actually means is you've purchased this, I don't know, $500,000 property, but that property is brand new and there was costs to build it. And instead of just claiming the insurance or the rates or the interest on the loan that you've got, you're actually able to then claim some of the cost of that property as well.
Okay.
So whilst you haven't paid for the property in full because you have a loan and you're paying that off over a period of time, you're able to claim a large portion of those costs.
Okay.
And that, depending on the value of the property and depending on what that looks like, it could be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 of a deduction.
Wow.
But in order to do that, you need to get what's called a depreciation report.
Okay.
And there are a number of providers out there that can do that. And what they do is they effectively assess the property. They assess what's gone into building the property, and then they let you know, okay, based on the property that you have here, this is what you can claim against all the other income that you're receiving.
Okay. So that's how we go about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that can be the difference between making your investment work and making your investment.
100%, right? Because that depreciation, it's not cash. You know, I spend $500,000 and I get to write that down over a period of time, even though I technically haven't paid that loan off yet, maybe. So you're able to really tune into the ability to get that tax offset against other income.
Okay. Can you talk us through any potential changes that might be coming up in the next few months?
Yeah, look, good question. And there's been some changes that have been progressively happening over the last years. So back in 2017, one of the changes that were announced actually had to do with second-hand properties. And the idea is that you can claim depreciation, you can claim the cost of new plant and equipment that you install. So say you put a new kitchen in, you can claim some of that. However, if you buy a second-hand property and a new kitchen was put in before you bought it, you used to be able to claim the cost. The depreciation schedule will actually allow you to do that. Now you can only claim new stuff that you install. So that's a really hot tip in terms of purchasing second-hand property and the benefits of actually being able to get those depreciation reports. Now, the second thing that comes in, I guess, we're playing the political thing at the moment as well. So Labor out there is suggesting that they're going to abolish negative gearing, as well as a handful of other things, rightfully or wrongfully, wherever you stand on that. What that effectively means is what we're talking about now, in 6 months' time, might not exist. Which is really interesting. We could have just wasted like 10 minutes of our life to talk about these things.
10 minutes of your life.
But it will be a very interesting thing because we're talking about the impact on prices for houses.
Okay.
That might drop substantially because all of a sudden investors are less interested in purchasing property because they're not going to get that negative gearing aspect out of it too, and they might look other places for where they're going to invest money into.
Yeah, it's going to have a potentially dramatic effect on the market as well.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where it is. I know why they're looking to do that, and I think their intention is good.
Yeah.
I don't know what the outcome is going to look like, so we'll have to wait and see if they do get into power, and then if that does come into place.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it for me. Have you got anything more to add?
No, I'm good. I'm just going to sit back and finish a bit of whiskey.
Yeah, anything more about the whiskey?
Yeah, well, I wish, but I got about 80 odd bottles over there. We can carry through them next time.
Well, that's it. If you do have any more questions about negative gearing, feel free to get in touch on any sort of various form of social media, and we'll pass our questions on to the man, Andrew Van De Beek, and his details for his social media are in this part of our video.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think that's it.
Excellent.
We're going to enjoy our whiskey. But yeah, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Well, that's it, guys. Thank you for watching the show. Thanks for making it to the end of what is a 12-minute video, I'm sure. It's quite a dry topic, negative gearing. That's why we like to spice it up with a glass of wine as well. And I hope that you've learned something and we've provided you with a bit of value. If there's anything that you think we could improve on, please do leave a comment down below. I'd love to take it on board and make the show a little bit better. If there's a topic that you'd like us to discuss, please email me. You can reach out on social media. In fact, please DM me. My Instagram handle is Andy_Pater. That will be down below in the comments. And yeah, we're looking forward to bringing you some more topics over the next coming months and weeks and years, depending on how many of you guys actually follow us. So it'd be fantastic if you could smash that subscribe button, share it with someone, post it on your social media, and follow us on our social media. So if you do want to follow the progress of the show, you can follow my personal social media, and all of the links will be available in the comments below. Fantastic. Thank you guys for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time. Enjoy.